Cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of debate at the moment about cryptocurrencies. I can say one thing about it, and that is when the global market cap of cryptos gets to about $1 trillion, they're going to come after it in a big way. The problem with the entire Bitcoin cryptocurrency market is that it is an alternative economy. It can be compared to gold, as in a unit of gold, say a 1 ounce Troy, well, a 1 Troy ounce round of minted gold, 99.99. Well, what's it worth? It's worth so many US petrodollars. So is a Bitcoin. Now, if there is a global reset based on an SDR basket of currencies, like this, as we all know about, a global move to a one world currency, it'll be an SDR unit for sure. It'll have to be. Those currencies at the moment are the British pound, the US petrodollar, the yen, the euro of course, and now the renminbi, the RMB. I used to live in China, so I know a fair bit about it. I lived there in the early 90s, and we were using every currency under the sun and exchanging it all at the one time. US dollars, banknotes issued by the banks in Hong Kong, the foreign exchange currency with inside China, and the renminbi inside China. Now, with these, if there's going to be a reset, global reset, for instance, if the US dollar will lose its number one status without a doubt, and that's on the horizon. Right? Everyone's trying to pick a date, but no one has a clue, and that's for sure. Is it going to happen in the next 18 months or so? It could well do. But this blockchain system, it doesn't matter whether you're looking at Litecoin, NEM, Bitcoin, Ethereum, blah 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 blah, Ripple, what's the other one? It's good, Dash, blah blah. They all seem to be based back on either Bitcoin, or you can buy them with the US dollar, the Japanese yen, the euro, mostly. British pound, of course, in the UK. So, the problem with that, see, it's its own currency on its own. And like I said, once it reaches about $1 trillion in market cap, they are going to come after it. The other thing too is that if there is a global reset, they're not going to allow the old, Bitcoin's based on the old US dollar value, allowed back in as an exchange in the new system. For instance, if there is a new internal dollar in America, and it's bandied about for years of the Amero and all this sort of crap, it could end up being 40%, 50% value of the current US dollar. If that is the case, they are not going to allow the exchange of Bitcoins in the old value put back into the system. That will be profiteering, that will cause inflation. That's the sort of crap that the banks do, and they've got a monopoly on that. They're not going to allow people who have an alternative, their money invested from value of the old system in a private blockchain system that's been created by the Japanese guy originally, and all these wallets, etc., back into this system. I'm sure they're not going to allow that. The other thing you've got to consider too is that, are we being, whistled into this by the Pied Piper? Are these exchanges actually set up by the people who want to control it all in the end? My guess is that they are. If you look at the websites of a lot of these, their web address is .io, right? That's in the British India Isles or whatever. So a lot of those banking institutions are coming out of the centre of London, and they're set up there for tax haven reasons and escape collapse reasons if some of these cryptos are a scam. I mean, everyone talks about the Rothschilds, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they're nothing in compared to the giant scheme of things. They really aren't. It's the old families of Europe that control things that you've got to worry about, and all those houses and stuff that have been interbred now for centuries upon centuries. Do you think that the Rothschilds couldn't be sorted out in no time at all? If the Queen of England gave the instruction to do so, I mean, the English army, the CIA or whatever, right, couldn't deal with that. They're just the front people. Probably the people that would take the fall in the end. But anyway, they are worth hundreds of billions and billions and billions, and more likely trillions. So, can they set up a system on their own? Are they behind some of these exchanges and coins? Of course they are. They could be behind Bitcoin. Could there be these computer gurus behind it? People from Google? You know, Mr. Gates? Absolutely, could be. You know, if everyone's looking at anonymity, they could be the ones anonymously running this in the first place. I'm not joking. Anyway, the problem is that none of these cryptos are going to be trouble-free in the future for you. They're not going to be as safe as storing physical gold and silver. Right? They are going to fluctuate. They are going to crash again. They won't reach a lower low, but there'll be higher highs and lower lows, or, you know, not so lower lows, blah, blah, blah. That's just market fluctuation in these things. But mark my words, you can't force people into anything. You know, you can't drag a horse to water to get it to drink if it doesn't want to. But you tie it up and let it not get there. It'll be trying to pull away from the bit to get to it. I think that's what they're setting us up for. Basically crude analogy, but think of it that way. So, yeah, just watch out for it all. Because I can't see how they'll allow... And anyway, it's such a small, tiny part of a new economy. The system has merit. But we do have a global system now, but it's just controlled by the wrong people. And they're inflating everything we have away. All we've worked for. When you think about it, when you work for a year, you're probably working, 3 or 4 months sometimes for the government to pay tax. If you borrowed money from a bank for a house and car and all this other business, probably working for the house, probably another 6 months of that year. So there's 10 months of the year. The other 2 months of the year is your money. That's all you're working for yourself. And then when you put that money in the bank, they're lending it out at fractional reserve 10 times the amount, or possibly even 20 or 50 times the amount, giving you pittance interest, making 10 to 50 times more of your money in interest. And all that is then inflating the store of your wealth away. I know why cryptocurrencies were set up. I think they're a great idea. I'm not criticising the hell out of them. But you must be cautious about why they're being set up at this moment in time, to the degree that they are, and who's behind the exchanges, etc., especially, because that's where the conversion from US dollars or, you know, any of the global basket of currencies are being converted into these cryptocurrencies. Right? They will survive, Coinbase, etc. And the top 10 will probably survive. All these other ones, they're just absolute garbage. No wonder they're worth, 1,000th of a cent or whatever. That's all they'll ever be. But there could be, they're going to develop new cryptos aren't going to go away, but I can't see the global controllers of this system giving it up in any way. And if they have to put in legislation down the road to tax them or seize them, if they will, if there's a new global currency reset, and it's the people, the working class or whatever, that will pay for it, the elite won't, because they've invented the system in the first place. So anyway, that's it. I'm starting to rave, but take it on board.